What if everything your grandpa or dad told you about being quiet on the water was wrong? Why does splashing at the surface actually bring fish to your boat instead of scaring them away? Today, I'll show you how I built a fish splasher that flips the old rules upside down and why noisy water might just be your best fishing buddy. If you're new here, I'm Captain Kevin, and welcome to Wanna Adventure, where you might just learn something today. Remember those days when you were told to be quiet, not even to tap the sides of the boat? You'll scare the fish away, they said.
Well, that turns out that's not always true. In fact, splashing on the water can be one of the most effective ways to draw fish in, especially when you're mimicking the sound of a feeding frenzy. Let me show you what I built. This is my fish splasher. It's a simple device, but the idea behind it is powerful. Simulate the chaos of bait fish getting hammered by predators, and fish just can't resist coming to check it out. I started with this Minn Kota C2 30-pound truss trolling motor, which I've included in the video description and all of the other parts that I'm going to talk about.
All right, so now I'm going to review how I've built my splasher box. I've got this ammo box that has all of my electrical components. I wanted to go on the small side. I didn't want to haul around a big 12-volt battery. I wanted this portable, and I wanted to have easy access to it. You can use a 12-volt battery. I've seen many of my buddies have wired it up to their main boat batteries. This is just my interest in having it built this way. With this C2 30-pound thrust trolling motor, it's got 5 gears on it that you can adjust. So if you go buy this, keep in mind that this thing does really suck power, even though this little tiny trolling motor doesn't look like it would draw much power. It consumes a lot. So I did a little chart here of what it draws. So first gear, it draws 8.1 amps. In second gear, it draws 10.5 amps. Third is 14.7. Fourth is 16.7. Fifth gear is almost 30 amps an hour it's going to draw. So if you put this thing on the max speed, and one of those 100 amp hour batteries would last you about 3 hours. So with my 2 smaller batteries, these are each 10 amps each. So that gives me 20 amp hours to run the splasher. So you ask, so how do you do that if you've got a trolling motor that's even in first gear, it's drawn 8 amps. So if I left it on first gear for 2 hours, that's 16 amps. I wouldn't even have enough power to run it for 3 hours. So what you do is you go get yourself one of these pulse width modulation devices, or PWMs, and this gives you infinite flexibility in how you control the speed of the splasher. So this little dial here lets you vary the speed. So I've got this wire, this will hook up to the trolling motor once I've got it on the boat. This is the first device in my power system here. So I've got this wired in. The next thing I've got in my wiring harness here is a wireless on and off switch. Here's my remote control for it. So it's just a simple on and off. So anywhere in the boat, I can turn the splasher on, I can turn the splasher off. I've connected these all in with these easy to go wire plugs so I can plug and play. If I wanted to take out that on and off switch, I could. Let's say I have a problem with it in the future, it dies, it won't remote control. I can take that out of the system and remove it and just do it manually. Just plug it into the battery and run it. The next thing I've got is a watt meter. So this allows me, with the variable control, I can now see exactly how many amps it's drawing with this amp meter. It's watt meter, amp meter, it gives me the amps, which is what I'm most concerned about. Then my wiring harness here lets me wire in my 2 12-volt 10-amp batteries in parallel to provide 20 amps of power. So if I set the PWM to draw at about 3 amps, I will have at least 6 hours of splashing time. If I did not have that PWM and it ran in first gear, it wouldn't even run for 3 hours. So the way you do that is take your red wire, Put it on your positive, cross over and put this one on your other positive, and then take your negative and put it across here, and then this negative across here. And then I can plug in the meter. So right now my batteries are fully charged. I've got 14.4 volts, and right now it's not drawing any amps. So that is my wiring harness for my splasher. I've provided links to all these components that I've gotten off of Amazon. They're my Amazon associate links. So if you want to build this system, you can go out there and get these components. So one of the key components of the splasher device is actually the splasher prop. So you'll need to replace the regular propeller that comes with the Minn Kota C2 with this splasher prop. And you can get this from Michael's Taxidermy in Brenham, Texas. And for this C2, I got the 3/8 diameter shaft model that works on this particular trolling motor. Now that you've seen all this thing here in my shop, let's go put it on the boat and I'll show you it in operation. And then we'll show you it out in operation on the water. Alright, so when I get to the boat, I've got this trolling motor mount block here at the back of the boat. I use it for different purposes. I can put a second trolling motor back here. I also have a downrigger that I've got set up that I can use on this back block. But for this purpose, we're going to put my mounting board for the splasher. So you'll see part that mounts to the trolling motor. So I've just got it mounted here to this 2x6, and then I've got another one up on top. So once you get that in there, you can put this pin back in there, and then put the pull that pin out there, and then you put your splasher box in there and put the pin in. Then I'm going to put the trolling motor on the bracket back here. Some of these bolts loosen up every once in a while. Go through and make sure they're not coming apart. So we'll tighten that down there. All right, so notice this one carabiner. Why do I have that there? And I've got an eye bolt there. Well, this is to secure that trolling motor to that eye bolt in case this were to ever come off the mount. Unfortunately, it has come off the mount. I have taken off from a spot and not taken it up out of the water, and it has knocked it off. And that little rope has saved me from losing the whole splasher setup. So turn this back around. I always have it on 5 to give you the full speed there. You control the speed inside the box. So we'll plug that in. So now I've got all of my things up and running. Right now I've got all the systems put together. So we'll take this out of here and I'll show you how this works to control it. So I've got my remote around my neck here. We'll make sure that this is free and clear. So this is adjustable, this height. You can raise and lower it. The biggest challenge that I have with this is balancing the load on the boat. So if you only got 2 people on the boat and you're both fishing up front, you can come to the back of the boat and set it. And then if you both in the front, it lifts the back end up, and sometimes it gets the splasher prop up out of the water. If you got 4 guys on the boat, the best thing to do is, if I'm up front running the live scope and trying to find the fish and stuff, is to train somebody in the back to raise and lower the splasher prop so that you get that right plop, 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 plop sound. Because that's key to bringing in the fish. And once you train somebody and they key in on that sound to know that they can raise and lower it. All it takes is to loosen this wing nut and raise and lower the motor to adjust the sound on how the splasher is impacting the water based on the balance in the boat. So let's turn it on. So here we're going at a slow speed. So now I can come over here to my amp meter and I can see that it is drawing 1.3 amps. So what I usually like to do is run it at about between 2.5 and 3 amps. That gives me kind of the best sound on the water. So there, I'm speeding it up. And you know, my demo here is on dry land. When you put it in the water, it's going to be different because it's going to be more friction on that propeller going around. So once you set it on land, you want to come back in here and check it, make sure it's still under 3. Because again, you've only got 20 amp hours worth of battery with this setup. That is a setup for a splasher device. So once this is all running, get this all back in the box and close it up. One other thing I did was I put this waterproof mesh netting on top. It's supposed to keep water from going in, but it lets air come out. So, you know, it may let the box breathe a little bit because you are out there in the hot sun, and you want to keep those components as cool as you can. All right, we'll turn it off. We'll raise this up, show you how you would run it when you're on the water. You can flip this over and put it inside the boat. That is the splasher setup on the boat.
Watch what happens when I fire this up. Within minutes, you'll start to see fish rise, accumulate on the live scope. It's like flipping a switch.
Next time you're out and the bite is slow, don't just sit quietly hoping for a miracle. Make a little noise, create the commotion, be the frenzy. That's what this fish splasher does, and it works. If you like this breakdown and you build your own, hit that like button and drop a comment below on your experience. I'd love to hear about it. Don't forget to subscribe for more fishing hacks and outdoor adventure. If you want to see my portable live scope setup and how I used it for offshore fishing for snapper, check out this video here. If you want to see the splasher in action catching hybrid bass on Decker Lake in Austin, Texas, check out this video here. Tight lines, y'all.